It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're having a reaction discussion video from SetoMary titled Tunneling, Response to the DVD Echo Chamber. I actually have spoke about one of this creator's videos in the past, which I will link at the end of the video. But let's go ahead and dive
Design philosophy conversations with the DBD community as a whole are almost impossible, and it's because of something I mentioned in my first ever video about DBD. Dividing your community by making a completely asymmetrical game provides for one of the most toxic communities humanly possible.
So, I understand the idea that you're trying to convey here. I do agree that, yeah, of course, like, the game is sort of, it is asymmetrical, and it is going to provide a bit of a, you know, sort of divided perspective. I mean, that's obvious. But I do think that, even so, I don't imagine that that is just a symptom of the genre. I really just think that that is a symptom of just the devs and how they handle everything, and also the community as a whole. And I think there's a lot of people that are extremely biased in a lot of ways and can't really see the other side's perspective. Now, obviously, as we know, usually, I would say from my own anecdotal personal experience, I usually see a lot more survivor perspective that is extremely open and shut when it comes down to how they believe that killer should be played. You know, they have zero experience at playing killer, have zero experience of playing against actual competent teams on killer, and then therefore tried to use their own anecdotal evidence to say, oh, well, the whole game should be played because like this, because I am playing against goobers, so therefore everyone is. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, everybody has a unique experience with this game, and I understand that everybody has a perspective on it, but that also doesn't mean it's correct every single time. Let's get into the rest.
Making it incredibly difficult for anyone to see the other side's perspective. I genuinely can't say anything without being labeled as a whiny survivor main, when I'm not even a survivor main. Hell, honestly, at this point of the game's lifespan, maybe I am, because I find Survivor way more fun and tolerable because of the problems I outlined last video.
Which I've heard a lot of people say that, and I think that's been a running thing with a lot of people that play Survivor nowadays. I mean, they've given the Survivor side so many buffs and improvements, making it easier and easier and easier. So, I mean, I would, who wouldn't, right? Like, who wouldn't want to play that and have a much more casual and enjoyable experience compared to the side that requires you to be not only skilled at your characters to be able to play well, but also be able to counter all of the other things that people are already going up against right now, including pallet density, including second chance perks, including gen speed, including the map design, including even the tier of your character. Like, all these things are just coming in hand and making it harder and harder and harder to play killer. And that as a whole, we already understand why. So that, I'm like, I can't really agree or disagree, because that truly is expected. I would say I would be surprised if people do not play killer, or just choose to play only survivor, or just don't play the game at all, because it's just like, what is the point of playing the killer anyway at that point?
Did people honestly believe I was saying all of that because I find them to be problems with playing Survivor? No, all of that was because the concept of tunneling is something I despise from the perspective of the killer. Countering these things as Survivor is easy. Again, to reference my first ever DBD video, just run a build like this one and you have instantly fixed all of your life's problems. It should not be like this, though. If you are willing to put someone down for a playstyle, then yes, it's 100% on you to equip these perks, but the game shouldn't be designed in a way where these perks are necessary to truly avoid these unfun playstyles. This should be fixed by base kit design.
Yes, you could argue that it shouldn't be this way, but that is purely opinionated, and it's not really backed up by anything besides feelings and not facts. The fact of the matter is that these strategies that people are using are a symptom of the greater issue within the game's core design. The core gameplay loop is the survivor does the objective, therefore they need to be stopped. If you can stop them in some way, shape, or form, i.e. killing them, which is removing them from the entire match, or slugging them so that they're not on the gen, or if you can have somebody picking up someone else or whatever have you is the main way to get them to not do the generator. That's quite literally at its core the entire gameplay loop. And by trying to only shift it to only the, oh, but it's the strategies causing all these problems, I don't like playing this way, it's like, it doesn't necessarily matter if we enjoy playing this way or not. That is unfortunately the most efficient way to play. So that really is not really up to us as players. Like, that is truly up to the devs who decided to make that the gameplay loop in the first place. You can choose to play however you want in the game, however, but at the end of the day, if you want to play efficiently, you're going to play efficiently. If you don't, then you don't necessarily have to. You're not really forced to do that unless you actively want to win your matches.
Got perks. But again, playing to win, no matter how unfun you may find it from the other side, is not a bad act by the killer, and you shouldn't blame them. You should blame the design of the game.
I agree with that.
Honestly, the DBD community as a whole is kinda nuts, so I wonder why I'm making this video at all, but I want to solidify my stances on some things and provide some counter-arguments to some nonsense. Because if there's one thing that YouTube comments seem to do best when they disagree with you, it's straw man. I want to start this entire thing off with this. What are your thoughts on borrowed time having been made base kit? I doubt there are many I need to spell it out for like this, but I'm referring to the endurance status effect survivors get after being unhooked. Do you see that as a good thing for the game? No, don't think about the PTB, we are putting that in the past for a moment. Think solely about base kit BT. Is that good for the game? If you answer no, I don't even know what to say, I'll get to that in a bit. But if your answer is yes, then I think you and I are on the same page a lot more than you may have anticipated before. My stance on the PTB...
I don't think borrowed time and the changes coming in that PTB have little to no correlation whatsoever. Adding base kit BT obviously made it like harder to be efficient as killer, but it also gave survivors an option to get away, which if they decided to not get away, then they end up getting downed again, then that is their own fault because they have a speed boost and endurance to run off somewhere. So at the end of the day, it still boils down to the player and not really the game design in itself. Now, comparing something that is just an okay change like that, which offers an option by itself compared to the PTB changes is completely... those are two drastic differences there. Like, one is giving the survivors invincibility with full-on exploiting that they can utilize and removing the capability of killing in the first place versus just giving endurance and speed so they can get away faster. Like, those two things are not even the same. I don't think that is a good comparison.
Was not that it was something that should hit live. And it wasn't even that those specific changes should ever be in the game, but that the concept of changes aimed at easing some of the draw to tunnel and the reward for doing so, while incentivizing not doing so, could be great for the game. And that just because the PTB failed, doesn't mean this shouldn't still be attempted at all. Now, if you agreed with me about base kit BT, but see this as something completely different from how drastic those PTB changes were, and you're lost on how I could connect those two, you are completely missing the point. The severity and design of those changes was the issue, but the thing that links them is their intended goal: reduce the influence of tunneling as a concept in general. So many arguments in the comments have gotten so caught up in the whole balance aspect of this that they either couldn't or refused to realize balance is a malleable thing and something I explicitly...
I completely disagree. This is an extremely flawed point and it does not address the glaring issues with the actual points being made. First and foremost, like I stated earlier, the entire gameplay loop is the survivor does gen. You stop them from doing gen so gates are not powered. By that logic, you need to either eliminate somebody as soon as possible or disable them from being able to do those damn generators in any way, shape, or form. And killing a survivor is objectively always going to be the most efficient way to slow the game down, because there will be one less person that is fully capable of doing multiple things, such as healing, saving, doing the gen, like breaking your totems. I mean, these are fundamental things that help provide more pressure for the survivor side. So of course everybody is pointing at that mere fact because that's exactly what they do. Like, I don't understand how that is completely thrown out the window every single time this conversation is coming up. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense, I have to say. So trying to remove the aspect of tunneling, oh, that's the big problem. It's like, no, it isn't. Like, the big problem is the core gameplay loop. It is what you do to be efficient in that gameplay loop. You would have to completely change the entire game from the ground up, which they're not going to do. So what they're trying to do is band-aid fix the issue of, oh, but I'm getting tunneled. And it's because a lot of players just do not want to face the facts that they are just not able to hold their own in chase, which is fine, because behavior had decided to now add more and more changes for those players instead of actually allowing them to improve in some kind of way, shape, or form. So once again, it's a flawed argument. Like, this really has nothing to do with the actual balancing of the game, which, like I've stated, is within the core gameplay loop.
Said needed to be addressed. If you like BaseKit BT as a concept, we are not nearly as opposed conceptually. If you dislike it, I think you're probably way too biased towards
I find it kind of ironic that he's claiming that everyone else is strawmanning while simultaneously strawmanning. That's actually kind of insane.
killer's perspective and overestimating the power it has to be used aggressively. Am I saying there isn't any way for it to ever be tweaked? Again, no. But thinking the game is better without it entirely is absurd. Something I want to address before we go any further is the concept that removing tunneling removes strategy. If you think I'm strawmanning and nobody could possibly say that, no, that was something that was actually argued in the comments. Look, I understand how, I guess in a literal sense, removing tunneling is removing some strategy. But this is just the Overwatch 2 tank counter-swap strategy argument all over again. Tunneling does take some strategy, but that strategy...
I think that once again, this is not really fully understanding what people are trying to say, which obviously you can take somebody's comment and pick it apart, it's fine. But tunneling in itself is the strategy. Like, you need to get somebody out of the game faster. That is the strategy. That is the tool. Somebody uses it incorrectly, they may lose the game. Somebody can counter that said strategy. That it's what it is. It's not, oh, tunneling is this thing and then you take strategy to use it. Like, no, it is the strategy. Like, that's what you use. The same way that you know when to slug or when to tunnel or when to camp something is all a part of tools in your toolbox. Like, that's all a part of an encompassing thing that all comes together to make yourself better at the killer side. Because knowing those things is going to give you much more benefits than not knowing those things. Because if you decide to do those things and not understanding it correctly on how, when, and how, you're just going to end up having a much more losses than you are going to have wins.
Is about as deep as knowing what numbers below 3 are bigger than each other.
Let's hear this again.
But that strategy is about as deep as knowing what numbers below 3 are bigger than each other. Is the survivor with 0 hooks a better target, or the survivor with 2? Gosh, this strategy sure is riveting and layered. Yeah.
So, instead of... it's like, that's actually hilarious. Which goes to show the lack of knowledge, you know, what that goes into playing killer at this point. And I can see that. I mean, we've spoke about their previous video before, and it was like the same thing. They were trying to claim that tunneling is an exploit. So I can understand that they have a distaste for it, even in this video. But to actually explain it correctly, and not in that sort of way, understanding that you are say going around the map, and you've gotten maybe 1 or 2 hooks on 2 different people, and you're hearing 2 to 3 gens 99, and you're like, well, the next person I hook, or the person that I'm hooking right now, I kind of need to make sure that they die, because by the time it's 2 gens and everyone's still up, I'm probably not going to have enough time to hook everybody else. These are just parts of the strategy. And it's more applicable to lower tier killers, which unfortunately have to use strategies to push people out of the games faster to make it easier on those characters. But to say that tunneling by itself is so easy, it's like you're just blatantly like proving that my own point that I was actually making, which was like a lot of survivors have a massive skill issue. And that in itself does not mean that it's an exploit. That in itself means that it is a problem with the players that are facing it, that aren't utilizing not only the same builds that you just stated earlier, but also you're actively acknowledging that they're so bad at the game that they needed to have the PTB changes and all these kinds of things, which is still a flawed like perspective to have, because that doesn't really create a good experience for everybody involved.
Yes, I get that in actuality, this leads to situations where I weigh if toying with a survivor with 0 hooks is actually worth anything at all, but in my opinion, that's a bad thing. I think that giving some reward for hooking this player, aside from the survivors needing to unhook them and take 0.32 nanoseconds to heal them, would probably benefit the game, rather than just forcing the scenario where I have to strategize by trying my best not.
I've already discussed this point before in the previous video, but I'm gonna say it again. This point is completely flawed. Once again, you're trying to remove all strategy from killer, which is the most strategic side of the two, and it is the most focused on yourself as the player comparatively to survivor, where you can kind of blame your teammate for making a mistake, which they are fully capable of making multiple mistakes before losing a game, versus killer that can make 1 and completely lose the game. Secondly, it's a flawed perspective because, like I've said, the core gameplay loop is the survivors are doing an objective that does not require them to do anything besides sit there and watch a bar fill up. Therefore, you need to stop them from doing that, so therefore you need to either A, leave them on the ground for a bit to get someone else to get 1 to 2 people off of gens, and secondly, you need to eliminate them from the lobby so that they cannot provide pressure for the rest of the match. They can't heal, they can't pick everybody up, they can't save each other, they can't rush the gens because they are not in the match. So and there is literally nothing more efficient than removing one of the things that can provide pressure in the game. I don't know why that's so hard to understand, but apparently it is. So by and large, right, that like the core fundamental game, the way that it functions is the way that it is. It is not going to change. So by adding these changes that you're proposing, that you want to chase fresh hook survivors and get some kind of bonus, will not be even remotely as close to just getting somebody down fast and eliminating them from the game. The only way you can do that, and if you really want to go this route, is you would need to make it so that if you decide to hook someone, every other non-fresh hook survivor would have to be exposed, and you need to have like 30% haste for you to be able to insta down that one person, or even just teleport behind them like Pinhead or something and just be able to one-shot them in order to even come close to the amount of pressure you can have by just eliminating somebody out of the game entirely. And even then, that's like so massively out of this world with ridiculousness that it's never going to be added into the game, right? It's a completely flawed argument. Like, it's not going to work with the fundamental like issues with the game in itself.
To hit this body-blocking human distraction. Yes, you have to remember that even if it were just buffs, changes like this would still fall under what I am defining as remedying tunneling. Thinking that tunneling can only be solved with nerfs is incredibly nearsighted. Remember my analogy last video where I posited that you can't just nerf soft tunneling and buff playing for hooks, because the power discrepancy between the worst and best strategies are often so vast that changes mean nothing?
There is nothing more efficient than completely removing a survivor from the match. There will be nothing that comes close to that, because by their mere existence, are providing an advantage for their team. They can heal, they can save, they can pick each other up, they can do the objective. By removing someone from the match, it just objectively is going to be the most efficient way to play and will provide a form of slowdown that will last throughout the rest of the match, comparatively than going for a brand new survivor. For what reason? Like, so you can get one brand new hook and then all three of them can not heal and do the objective faster? That doesn't make any sense.
To the meta, and are especially dangerous when we are making these changes within an asymmetrical game? Well, if you missed it, my whole point wasn't that the power of tunneling was too strong, but that the discrepancy between the power of tunneling and the power of playing literally any other way was too vast.
The reason that it's too vast is because, like I've just stated, like probably like 10 times already, tunneling is the most efficient way to play the game, so you remove them from the match. I don't understand how that's so hard to understand. It's kind of insane. It's kind of insane. I mean, like, it's like if somebody is, it's literally like if somebody is doing something you don't want them to do, right? I mean, what? I don't even need to give an example. Like, the game in itself is giving you the example. Like, they are on the objective. Them existing is being on the objective. Them doing the objective. You stop them from doing the objective by removing them from the match entirely, right? Because remember, this is a player behind the character, so they can do whatever the hell they want. Even if you try to de-incentivize them from doing this, that, and the third, they're still going to do the objective. Like, that is just going to be what it is. You can't get them off of the gen by any means unless you can get them on a hook, leave them on the ground, or get them eliminated. Like, that's the only other way you can, because they already made healing super efficient. They made gen super efficient. They made pallets plentiful, so they're going to just, you know, keep running to the next one now. So in what situation is playing non-efficiently going to help you? I really don't see the logic behind that. But that is going to be the end of the video for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube things. Check out the original video linked in the description, and consider supporting the channel with the links down there. And if you want to, join the Discord so you can communicate with the rest of us in the community talking about different topics. And shout out to you guys for being here, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Well, I wanted to go ahead and take some time out to thank all my members from Patreon with Crow King 101, my YouTube members, Majora Jeff, Endire, Evil Peachy YT, Zero Mocker, Christian, Hexdev, and Crow Vader, and for my Twitch subscribers, Cake is the Road, Danica 2002, Final Girl _ Bunny, Acklefin, Chili Cinderace, Zero Mocker, Ginsburg, Johns 117 _ Lovely Ghost TTV, Jar TTV, Zazaboo, and Crow Vader. Just wanted to thank you guys. And if you also want to have your name read off at the end of every video, make sure you join on one of these platforms to get one of those perks, as well as the other perks you get. So appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much.